traveling Switzerland with babies, toddlers, kids, and teens sounds exhausting.
Trains, buses, boats, cable cars, strollers, luggage, restaurants, naps, bathrooms.
But after living here since 2023 and now raising a toddler here, we've realized that Switzerland might actually be the easiest country in the world to travel with kids.
Kids ride transportation for free. Playgrounds are everywhere. Restaurants often have toy corners. Public bathrooms are shockingly clean, and it's one of the safest countries in the world. So today we're answering your biggest questions about traveling Switzerland as a family, because it really is easier and better than you think. When I was pregnant, I was worried about how I would take our child on public transportation because we don't own a car. But today, when we ask our son every morning what he wants to do, he often says,
Bah.
Or,
Caca.
Or,
Tutu.
That's because there is some magical connection between little boys and vehicles. But for you, the thought of long train rides or closed-in cable cars with your kids might make you sweat with fear. So let's set your mind at ease right away. Transportation isn't just how you get around Switzerland. For most kids, it's one of the attractions. First, it is shockingly easy to navigate thanks to the SBB app. It's essentially like Google Maps, but for Swiss transportation. And it's so easy that your 10-year-old can probably figure it out. But we'll link our step-by-step transportation guide below if you need more help. So beyond navigation, the ride is just part of the fun. For example, check out this playground on a train. So cool, right? The longer distance trains, like to or from the airport, often have these playground areas with slides and tunnels and bridges built for tiny passengers. Our biggest advice for families, whether you have babies or teenagers, is to sit in the family carriage. It's really easy to find because you'll see this teddy bear icon on the SBB app or on the station platform screens. And here, it's acceptable for kids to cry and laugh and run and jump and play, and even your rambunctious teenagers are welcome here. Here's a few more tips, though, about riding trains with your kids. The family carriage is usually, but not always, level with the station platform, making it really easy to board with your strollers and suitcases. The bathroom in this section should have a changing table. There's more room here to park your strollers, and you'll almost always meet other families and kids to play with. And sometimes the nearby restaurant car has kids' meals, snacks, and coloring pages too. Okay, but what about other forms of transport besides just trains? Build it up as part of the experience and allow it to be a form of entertainment for your kiddos. Snag a window seat on a gondola. Ride on top of a cable car. Sit in the front of the boat. Or board the open-air carriage on a funicular. Engage their imagination with easy games like I Spy or see how many cows you can count. And for older kids, a lot of these rides have accolades like highest or longest, steepest or oldest that they also might find really interesting.
Kids under 6 always travel for free on transportation in Switzerland. And kids 6 to 15 years old can also travel for free with the Swiss Family Card, which is complimentary when the parents purchase a Swiss Travel Pass or Swiss Half Fare Card. There are also kids' versions of many of the regional passes, such as the Jungfrau Travel Pass, Berner Oberland Pass, and Lucerne Travel Pass, which are a flat rate of 30 francs for kids 6 to 15. And while the best deals end once your kids turn 16, there are still a few youth passes available. The Swiss Travel Pass Youth and Berner Oberland Pass Youth for 16 to 24-year-olds are 30% cheaper than the adult passes. And the Eurail or Interrail passes are discounted until you turn 28. This means you're not having to check how much money is left in your vacation fund before deciding whether to hop on a boat ride or go up into the mountains. Or whether or not to just leave your kids at home. Now, we don't have the time to discuss which passes are best in this video, but we've simplified that decision for you with our free Swiss Train Pass checklist, which we'll link for you below. And when it comes to actually buying passes and tickets, it's really simple. Purchase your train passes online so you have a digital copy before you even set foot in Switzerland. Mom and dad can store the PDF with each person's train pass on each of their phones. And when tickets are required, one parent can buy everyone's tickets on the SBB app. Then, when the train staff comes by, it's easy to show them everyone's passes and tickets. Or for most mountain transport, one parent can scan them all at the turnstile as your family enters one by one. And if our son could add something to this video, he'd want your kids to know that they can actually get their own paper ticket. Whenever you ride on trains or boats or buses, simply ask the staff for one of the cute, free paper tickets, which your kids can proudly show to the staff and get them punched every time they ride.
But hang on, what about all your stuff like strollers and suitcases? Well, remember when you're sitting in those family carriages on the train, they have more space for stuff like that. But unless you have a car, more on that in a minute, you're gonna have to carry everything with you. Unless you use the SBB Luggage Shipping services. We love this. We use it every year when we travel to and from the United States and have extra bags and extra big bags. It's just so practical. They even deliver right to your door or your hotel. We'll link below where you can find more information about that. We're going to talk about packing later too, but first, let's move on to strollers. We get asked this question all the time. And if you like to bring a stroller with you, then you should bring one, especially if your child naps well in it. Try to bring one that maybe can work better on cobblestones or gravel, because then you really have freedom to go anywhere in the cities, towns, villages, and even some of the stroller-friendly walking trails. And if possible, maybe have one that's more compact or narrow, so that way you can easily go down train aisles or collapse it to get on a gondola, or even just pick it up a step or two to get onto a bus. And the final tip here, when you're traveling, follow the handicap signs to find elevators and ramps. Before we had kids, we never thought about this. We just pick up our luggage and go anywhere. But Switzerland is so handicap friendly that you'll always be able to find a route in stations and even towns and villages too, which means you will rarely be having to pick up your stroller.
If you require a lot of gear, having a car might sound practical. And if you're going to destinations that are less accessible by train, then it might make sense. But keep these things in mind. Most cars and roads in Europe are smaller than in the US. So a big minivan or SUV will be more expensive and will feel bigger on the streets. On the contrary, smaller cars may not hold as much luggage as you expect. You almost always have to pay for parking, even at some grocery stores. But nowadays, they accept cash, credit cards, or payment via an app like Parking Pay or Easy Park. You cannot drive to most mountain destinations in Switzerland. For example, you can drive to Interlaken and Grindelwald and Lauterbrunnen, but you cannot drive to Harderkulm, Grindelwald Fürst, or Wengen. You can rent car seats. While you could bring yours along from home, there are different safety restrictions in various countries, so be sure that yours fits the Swiss requirements. Hopefully, you're already feeling more confident about navigating Swiss transportation with your kids. Really, our goal in this section was just to help show you that it really is easier than you might assume. But we know you probably still have more questions. So when it comes time to step foot on your first train, boat, cable car, etc., we have tons of practical resources to help you, like more YouTube videos, a complete PDF guide, and even some free resources. We'll link all of those for you below.
When you're living out of suitcases with limited access to toys or technology, you might worry that your kids are going to be bored out of their mind in Switzerland. Well, we won't delve into our philosophy on boredom, but if you're willing to incorporate some family-friendly activities into your itinerary, we don't think your kids are going to be bored here. I tried to find out how many playgrounds there are in Switzerland, and I couldn't find an exact number. And I kind of wonder if that's because there are too many to count. For example, I read that the city of Zurich alone maintains more than 200 playgrounds. Now, we have traveled all over Europe, and I have just never been in a country with so many places for kids to play. They literally design them as places for families to come. And that means your little ones and your teenagers can go play and burn off energy while you sit on a bench and relax or take in the view. They're also free, which means you have more money to spend on other things like Swiss chocolate. Before we mention our favorite playgrounds, I want to talk real quick about jet lag because the struggle is real. I mean, maybe your kids will do better than you imagine. That would be great. Or maybe it's just really, really hard. But either way, our biggest advice is not to overschedule your first day or two and to spend plenty of time outside like at playgrounds. My favorite ones are the cow-themed playground at Mannlichen, the lakeside playground at Trubsee below Mount Titlis, and the one at Lite in Zermatt. And Brett loves the flower playground at Almendhüppel. If you're following one of our Swiss travel guides, we always mention where there are playgrounds so you can easily incorporate them into your itinerary, or you can search playmap.ch to find both indoor and outdoor playgrounds near your destination. And another hint, especially if you're on a budget, is that a lot of mountain playgrounds are actually at intermediate stations and not necessarily at the highest stop. For example, Bort is 3 stops below Grindelwald Fierce, and it has an amazing playground and is a great place to spend the afternoon with your family, and it's way more affordable to just go to Bort instead of all the way up to Grindelwald Fierce.
But it gets even better than just letting your kids run around while you admire the views, because there are a ton of kids' trails. These are often themed hikes with stations along the way that make it really enjoyable for families to hit the trails together. Ball runs are super common, where you can watch your wooden ball go through tunnels and even over water. So are treasure hunts, where your kids earn a prize at the end of the trail. And you'll often learn along the way with themed trails about goats, apple fritters, gnomes, cheese, and more. Find these trails by asking at a tourist office or your hotel, or you can learn about them in each of our Swiss travel guides. And here are a few more tips about hiking with kids. Follow the white signs with a stroller icon for paved or fine gravel stroller-friendly paths. Yellow trail signs are the easiest paths and can be walked in normal tennis shoes. These are fine for toddlers and young kids. Red and white are designated standard mountain hiking trails. Many kids, especially older ones, should be able to walk these, but note they'll often include more elevation change, rocks or roots, and maybe even some exposure. Invest in a good carrier for babies and toddlers. We've clocked hundreds of miles with our Ergo Omni 360 and have just started using the Osprey Poco Lite for longer hikes as well. They're pricey, but absolutely worth the investment. Don't forget your hat, sunscreen, and warmer layers in case the weather changes. Pack snacks and stop often. In addition to the stations along kids' trails, there are often restaurants or self-service farm shops or benches along the way. As often as possible, we plan stopping points into our hikes every 45 to 60 minutes so our son has a chance to roam around. And if your little one sleeps well in a carrier or backpack, do your hiking while they're napping. If your child doesn't have much experience in a stroller, carrier, or hiking backpack, it's probably a good idea to practice before your trip. The Swiss have a fun saying, "There's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing." So you can get out in any type of weather. But if you'd rather just avoid the mess, there are also plenty of museums and chocolate factories and even indoor pools if you need them. And oftentimes, entry is discounted or even free for children.
If you're already feeling more confident about your Swiss family vacation, then hit that like button. It helps other families realize that Switzerland really is the easiest country in the world to travel with kids. In fact, we find that it is way easier and more enjoyable for the whole family when we're out exploring Switzerland than when we're just at home.
What's worse? Waiting 30 minutes for your meal to arrive in a restaurant with whiny kids? Or watching your kids throw food on the floor while you're just trying to get them to consume something reasonably healthy? We don't need to pick. They're both miserable. But Swiss restaurants often make it easy for your family with a kid's toy corner or a playground near your table on the terrace. Translation, going to a restaurant with kids is maybe not as hard as you think.
The kids' menu is pretty standard with chicken nuggets, hot dogs, spaghetti, that kind of thing. And if your kids have allergies, just be sure to talk to the waiter or the chef. For example, when our son was little, he had an allergy with cow milk and butter and cheese. I know, not very Swiss, but anytime we were in a restaurant, we were able to talk to the chef and they just cook something in oil instead of butter, or they would just omit the cheese. So it wasn't a big deal. As for drinks, syrups are really popular. They're just like a concentrated juice, usually in fruity or floral flavors. Brett loves mint and I love elderflower. Apfelschorle is a lightly carbonated apple juice. And of course, they have things like water and soda. And Rivella. Rivella is the most popular soda in Switzerland made from, I'm not going to tell you, you should just try it when you're here. And final pro tip, if your kids are budding coffee snobs like ours, you can order them a baby chino, which is just a steamed milk with a chocolate smiley face on top.
Not all restaurants are family friendly, but compared to many countries, it seems like the Swiss just expect kids to be there. Pick a table on the terrace and let your kids play on the playground while you wait for your food. And if you need something, just ask. We've asked for a high chair, a changing table, kid's spoon, basket of bread, and even a table umbrella. In particular, don't be afraid to ask for a changing table. Often they're in a separate handicap restroom or upstairs near the hotel rooms, or even on another floor near a banquet room.
The first year of our son's life, we spent a quarter of the year traveling. And for pretty much all of those trips, we totally overpacked. I tried to bring everything from clothes and diapers to snacks and medicine, but here is the good and easy news. It's easy to overpack, but you don't have to. Switzerland has everything you're going to need. Diapers, wipes, formula, snacks, clothes, shoes, sunscreen, you name it. Even chicken nuggets and french fries. Now, you might spend more money than you would at home, but you'll be able to find it. Grocery stores like Migros and Coop have a big kids section, and even stores like Aldi, Lidl, and Vogue also have a small kids area. Nearly all your lodging is going to provide a baby bed or a kid's cot. You just need to reserve those in advance. Now, of course, if you have a very special like hypoallergenic baby formula or a particular diaper cream, you should probably bring those along. But for the generic stuff, just wait and get it once you're here.
If you need some sort of medicine though, head to a pharmacy first since many things are available over the counter. And if your kid catches a little cold or gets a bug bite, the pharmacist can usually help find something without you needing to visit a doctor. Now, we think travel insurance with emergency health coverage is totally worth the peace of mind. Because if your kid or you does get sick and needs to see a doctor, you can go to a walk-in clinic or the hospital, and these policies will usually reimburse the expenses as long as you follow their procedures. But try to save the emergency room for actual emergencies.
When it comes to packing, I am no expert, but I think you should pack less than you anticipate needing and just plan to do laundry. Now, I know you're on vacation, you are not going to want to do laundry, but hear me out. It's better than schlepping around giant suitcases stuffed with weeks worth of clothes, because that actually means you're now carrying your suitcase and your kid's suitcase, because don't we know that's how it always ends up. But really, just bring what is practical. For us, that looks like 3 to 4 cold weather outfits, 3 to 4 warm weather outfits, a jacket, a raincoat, and 2 pairs of shoes. If you're stuck and need more help, you can download our free 4-season Switzerland packing list. And if you're looking for laundromats, we just recommend searching on the map, or of course you can ask your hotel and Airbnb for recommendations. When our son was little, I was so anxious that he was going to cry uncontrollably on a crowded bus and I wouldn't be able to soothe him, or that he would just be so fussy in a restaurant and disturb all the people around us. And maybe you're worried that your hyper kid is going to be bouncing off the walls of a cable car, or your teenagers are going to be really rambunctious on a very peaceful trail. What are the people around you going to think? And even more so, what about your kids? How are they going to handle jet lag and full days and new food and different beds and just all the things that are normal on vacation that are not normal at home? Well, take some comfort. Switzerland ranks at the top of the charts as the 3rd safest, 9th cleanest, 10th happiest, and 18th friendliest country in the world. Once again showing how easy it is to travel here as a family.
First, Switzerland is so clean, obnoxiously so. And other than it smelling nice, here's what that means for your family vacation. Clean public bathrooms, pure drinking water right from the tap or fountain, walkable towns and cities any time of day or night, and overall trust that the Swiss want your kids to be happy.
We find the Swiss to be so genuinely kind and friendly. When our son is fussy on a train, the people next to us will give him their hat or try to talk to him or let him play with their hiking poles. And when he's fussy in a restaurant, people at the next table will try to give him a high five. And when we're playing on a playground, almost everybody who walks by can't help but smile at all the happy kids. So yeah, meltdowns are gonna happen, but do your best to stay calm and comfort your child. And the chances are high that the Swiss are on your team too. Switzerland is one of the safest countries in the world, with extremely low crime rates and an overall culture of respecting the rules and looking out for kids. For me, I don't feel uncomfortable hiking alone with my son in the mountains. I don't hover over him on the playgrounds. We don't feel unsafe when we're exploring a big city like Zurich. As a tourist, your biggest concern is probably just looking out for pickpockets, but that means you have more mental capacity to genuinely enjoy your Swiss vacation.
But there's something else really unique about Switzerland, beyond the fact that traveling here with a family is easier and better than you think. The culture and the destinations encourage you to be together as a family. You can sit together on trains. You can picnic together at a playground or walk together on a trail. There's more space and more margin and honestly just a lot more peace. We've observed that kids are really happy to be here, and therefore, so are parents. And that's a recipe for a really memorable family vacation. So if you're wondering where you should visit on your Swiss vacation, watch this trip planning guide next, because each of the destinations we recommend is fantastic for your entire family. And we'll see you and your kids in Switzerland.